If you're going to be traveling with your bike to an incredible location, you need to watch this video so that you don't make any of these common mistakes which can potentially ruin your trip and your bike. Here at GCN, we're very lucky to frequently travel with high-end bikes, so we've got loads of experience and tips we can share with you, and you can learn from our mistakes. First thing I'd recommend is a good quality hard case. People often use soft cases, and premium soft cases can often cost as much as a hard case, and they don't offer as much protection. If you're on a budget, you can always get a cardboard box from your local bike shop. They often just give them away for free because all new bikes come in them and they're throwing them out. They can offer good protection if they're packed well, but they're never going to be as good as a hard case. The other thing from bike shops is they're a great source of padding for your bike. So things like this tube foam, which comes on a new bike, they're often just chucking it out. So you can get this sort of stuff for free and just use it time after time after time, every time you travel with your bike. However, if your choice is between hard and soft, always go hard. Stop sniggering at the back. Hard cases offer far more protection, and let's face it, baggage handlers, they're not known for their light touch. Your luggage is gonna take knocks, and well, in my experience, in all of the traveling I've done, I've never had a carbon fiber frame get cracked or damaged when it's been in a hard case. The downside of them, they can be pricey, but I feel it's something that's worth it. Now, it doesn't matter how hard your case is, how you pack it is super important. This To Peak Pack Go is brilliant because it allows you to leave your rear mech attached onto your bike and also your disc brake rotors without them getting damaged. However, a lot of cases aren't designed specifically for this. I'll show you how this one does that. But as a result, these are areas that can get damaged and bent. So your rear mech hanger, if it takes a knock in transit, or even if it's packed into a bag and there's something pressing against it, that can cause your rear mech hanger to bend, which means that you get to your destination and then all of a sudden your gears aren't working properly. And once a mech hanger has been bent, that'll mean you have to go to a shop to get it rebent, but a bent one that's been rebent is never quite as strong again, and you're ultimately going to need a replacement. Worst case, it could get snapped. Same with your rotors. You ideally just don't want to bend them in transit, so remove those parts when you pack your bag. But let's open this one and I'm going to show you some other tips. One of the great things about this case is that it actually features a removable stand which the bike attaches onto, and then you can use it to safely assemble and disassemble your bike. I'm going to show you how that works in a sec. But in order to disassemble and assemble your bike, you're going to need tools. Now, something I've seen people do in the past is take their tools and not think about how they pack them inside the box. If you've got any hard objects, and tools are a classic example, they're going to be moving around a lot more than you think when the bike box is in transit, and impacting a carbon frame, they can cause a lot of damage. So you really want to be careful in terms of how you pack these in. Top tip I'd recommend is getting them and putting them inside a water bottle, and then putting that bottle inside your bottle cage on your bike, and that way it should be pretty secure. Other things you can do is just wrap them in loads of padding or in a bag, or put them in a secure pocket somewhere. Just make sure you don't put them in your hand luggage, they'll get confiscated. Once your bike is packed into the box, a great way to add some additional protection and padding is just with clothing that you'd be taking anyway. I like to just put a few big soft items in some bags and then just place it tactically around the bike just to pad it out. Just be aware that a lot of airlines have a weight limit, so you don't want to be going over that with too much additional padding. The next most common area where people damage their bike is either assembling it or disassembling it. Loads of things can go wrong here. With a bike, when the wheels are removed, it's a very unstable and quite awkward object. It's very easy for it to fall over and take knocks and damages, which on the top tube of a carbon frame, well, it can cause it to crack. So having a stand like this that's built into the bike case is super, super useful, but it is a luxury. It's not essential. Just be careful if you're not using something such as this. The other thing is with bolts now and various other components on the bike that you're going to be doing up and undoing. In people's haste and excitement to make a flight or ride their bike as soon as they get to the destination, People often strip bolts, snap bolts, over-tighten things which can crack things like your carbon steerer. A great solution is to take a portable torque wrench set such as this, or just your normal bigger one should suffice, but again, don't put it in your hand luggage, it'll get confiscated. If you're lucky enough to have a bike with electronic shifting, such as Di2 or EPS, the battery's often in the seat post. So be very careful when pulling the seat post out. Don't yank it too hard because you can snap a cable. And when you put it back in at the other end, be careful not to crush a cable. I've done both of these things, and believe you me, it's a very costly mistake to make and very inconvenient, because rerouting a new replacement cable through the bike is a right pain. The next thing to focus on is little bits. Bikes often have loads of little bits all over the place. I'm talking things like little seat post bolts, headset spacers, bits of your headset, wedge clamps, so like the seat post wedge clamp in here. A common thing is that people lose these when traveling, and then they can be incredibly hard to source very specific parts when they get to their destination, and it can make your bike completely unrideable without these key components. So I would always recommend removing all of these little bits and putting them somewhere safe, like in a resealable sandwich bag, which then goes into a safe part of your bike box or bag. And don't leave things hanging out like this. So you can see this seat post bolt has been undone, and you think, oh, it's okay, it's still in there. That's loose. That can work loose quite easily inside your bike box. So what I'd always say is completely take it out, and then you've got it and you can put it somewhere safe. So in most seat clamp designs now, and in some headsets as well, there are wedge blocks that go in to press against the seat post. Don't leave those inside there if they're removable, because again, they will just fall out and drop out into the frame somewhere or get lost completely. And then again, your bike can be unrideable. And while on the subject of little bits, I'd always recommend, and I've said this before, getting yourself a spare mech hanger, and again, put that with all the other little bits that you need to keep safe somewhere. This can be a lifesaver if your mech does get damaged, bent, or snapped on either your trip or in transit. Next one is tyres. Now, you don't need to completely deflate your tyres when you're travelling, and this is especially important if you're running tubeless. Now, if you completely deflate your tyre, sealant's going to leak all over the place if you've got a tubeless setup. So what I'd recommend doing is letting a load of the air out, but leaving enough air in so that the tyre remains seated and the bead is snapped into place. That way it's still a sealed system and the sealant isn't going to leak out. And it also means that you can get away with just any pump when you get to the other end and you need to inflate the tyre. If it's become unseated, it could be hard to reseat the tyre without a compressor pump. Now for some quick fire tips. If you're able to remove or disconnect the batteries on your electronic shifting, if you have electronic shifting, always worth doing so. And always remember to pack your charger so that your batteries don't drain in transit. Next, I mentioned before about going to bike shops or raiding the bins of bike shops for round tube foam padding. Something else though that's well worth investing in is some reusable zip ties. These are fantastic. They actually come with this particular bike box, but you can buy reusable zip ties online and they don't cost much. And they're just better for the environment, aren't they? So these are great. You can just put them on to attach your foam padding on, like that. And then when you need to take them off, you can. And a couple of final tips. The bits of your bike that I would put in your carry-on luggage are your head unit and also your pedals. People have often asked, can pedals go in your carry-on luggage or will they get confiscated? It's fine. They're not a dangerous item. They can go in your carry-on. And the advantage here is that should the worst happen, should your bike get lost in the luggage system at the airport and not make it with you to your destination, you'll still be able to hire a bike and use your pedals and head unit, which, well, it's better than nothing, isn't it? And also to that end, I'd recommend putting a note with your name and address inside the box too, just in case. So there you have it. I hope you found these tips useful. It's not an exhaustive list. There's loads of other things you can get wrong. So if you've got your own experiences and tips you want to share in the comments section, please do, as we could include them in future videos. And if you found this video useful, please subscribe, as it helps support the channel. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go now, so hope you have a great trip wherever you're going, and I'll see you in the next one. Love you, bye.